everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this week. This is going to be the astro weather for September 11th through the 18th of 2022. Hope you guys are doing well. You guys know how it goes if you are returning to my channel. Sundays we always talk about the transits ahead. Sometimes there's a lot of stuff going on, sometimes there isn't. And the truth is we're still kind of coming off of that full moon in Pisces. It's going to linger for a couple days. Hopefully it was a good one for you guys. Major headlines for the week would be a couple of unusual aspects. I'll just put it at that. A fateful Yod. Obviously Mercury is going retrograde. He's going to give us a little bit of goodies this week with some aspects to Jupiter. And wholly mutable hell squares. I hate to use that term, but there is going to be some really interesting lunar transits that are going to happen a couple days this week. And I don't usually say like these are good days and these are bad days, because the truth is like good and bad is all relative, right? But I am going to let you guys know the more challenging days this week that may not be the best days for meetings or travel or anything like that. And by the same token, I'm also going to give you the more positive days that are going to be a little bit more free-flowing, just to kind of fully flush this out so you guys get more from this week's content, because there aren't any major aspects happening. But like I said, we are coming off of that full moon that we had in Pisces that really took place just yesterday. So hopefully it was good for you guys. Conjunct Neptune, really mystical, magical. It's interesting. A lot of people have been like, I'm so in my feelings, right? Very Pisces. And I don't know if it's just that we're having quite a few aspects, you know, to Neptune, a full moon highlighting Neptune with the opposition to the sun in Virgo. We're also starting to see that Venus and other planets like Mercury are going to aspect Neptune with oppositions again here pretty soon. But collectively, that is the moon. So when we have a full moon, we feel something collectively. So emotions come up when we're dealing with water signs, and when we are dealing with Pisces, collective, the masses. So, you know, there's been a lot of stuff going on this last week. We have seen some pretty extreme storms. We've also seen, obviously, the Queen of England passed. Just maybe a lot of people are feeding off of that energy. I don't know. Let me know. Are you feeling it? But a lot of people have been moody because of the squares also in the aspects between the mutable placements of Pisces and Gemini and Virgo. So when we have squares, we know there's tension. People get a little cranky. And when we have squares that are in the mutable signs, people are feeling things change, right? And so we don't always do well with change, at least maybe it's just me speaking, but when we're starting to see these changes through the mutable signs, we're changing the energy, changing the way that we communicate, changing the way that we think, what we believe in. So it feels a little wonky, and if you guys are still feeling that, sending you good vibes, hopefully you overcome it. All right, so let's go ahead and start with September 11th. This is going to be today, Sunday. Pull out my magic marker for you guys. So I guess I should note the more positive days that we're going to be having is going to be the 11th, 12th, and 13th. Like, take that with a grain of salt. If you're just kind of like, what are the days to have meetings, to communicate, call people, get stuff done? The 11th, 12th, and the 13th. So it's going to be today, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. These are the easier days for the week ahead, the challenging days. And when I say challenging, these will be challenging. The 14th, the 16th, and the 17th. So that will be Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Okay, guys? All right, so let's go ahead and start first with the 11th. So today on the 11th, we've got the sun in Virgo coming into a trine. It's been in a trine since earlier today, late last night, a trine with Uranus. So we're seeing practical sun in Virgo ways of changing things physically. Maybe we're changing our diets, changing our routine, changing our schedule. Maybe we're adding new supplements. Maybe we're just kind of getting things done. It's a good vibe for a Monday, I think, especially just considering the fact that for a Sunday, considering the fact that we also have that moon conjunct Jupiter. It's going to feel a little bit more positive, a little bit more uplifting. people might feel like that's a day they want to go to the gym. That's the day they want to go for a walk. That's a day they want to kind of cross things off their to-do list. Maybe it's just me. I like to treat Sundays as kind of like rest and recuperation days, but this seems a little busy to me with the moon Jupiter in Aries. Usually people want to be a little bit more active. They want some independence. They want space to go and do whatever it is that they want to do on their own. But when the sun, which represents our personal happiness, our power, our energy, is hanging out in Virgo, we're reflecting on matters of what is or is not healthy. You know, how do we fix something? How do we tweak something? How do we clean something up? Do we break something apart and reorganize things? So if you're wanting to do that, like if you have like a fun task, if you have a fun task that you want to do on Sunday, and you can convince the family to like completely relabel things in a closet, or maybe, you know, kind of open up the garage and go through things and find what works and what doesn't work, like these might be some things that you guys might save for Sunday. Working collectively with other people, also because of that trine to Uranus. So, you know, Earth trines, like we see stuff getting done. I think of like taking care of business, you know, especially once we start to get some aspects that are happening in Capricorn. So like when the sun's coming into trine with Capricorn, when we see the moon go through Capricorn, very taking care of business. So whatever you guys got to get done on Sunday, do it. Incorporate other people. Great day for physical fitness, wellness, things like that. Like I said, this same day, we're going to have the moon conjunct Jupiter. So that's going to bring more positivity, right? We're going to feel a little bit more like uplifted. We're going to feel a little bit more motivated to want to get things done. This seems like a fun day to like be like, yeah, I'm doing all of my food prepping, you know, prior to the week, or I got my workout out of the way early in the morning, or, you know, I did all my laundry and I folded it and I put it away, and like now I feel productive and I can go do other things and kind of get on with my day. But moon Jupiter is more positive. It is more uplifting. We'll also see a brief sextile between the moon and Mars. So that's also adding to that kind of Mars energy of just having a little bit more freedom to kind of move around, or feeling a little bit more motivated, right? Very positive, optimistic, great day for self-reflection, right? Moon conjunct Jupiter in Aries retrograde. And we are going to start to see some funky stuff because Mercury is now backtracking in Libra, and it's going to come into another opposition with Jupiter. Briefly, yes, you know, we will see the moon oppose Mercury over here. So that can be a lot of like, well, you want this, but I need that. You know, why don't you go do your thing and I'll do my thing, and then we'll meet up at you know, later in the afternoon and have lunch type of vibe. So the oppositions can be a lot of like, you know, partners want to get together, but we have commitments that we've made to ourselves. And that may materialize, and also because of the trigger from the moon, is having a difficult time expressing and communicating what our needs are versus relationships, right? And we feel it, like the Mercury retrograde in Libra, like it does create a little bit of disharmony in terms of getting along with people. It's just kind of part of the course when it's going retrograde. But at least some of the oppositions to Jupiter are going to highlight where maybe like that not getting along, feeling irritated, getting kind of agitated and like reactionary or short really stems from like people not really doing the things that they want to be doing, or that they're making sacrifices in relationships they don't want to be making. There can be disagreements that are really stemming from like resentment. So you want to watch for that, especially because the moon will briefly come into a conjunction with Chiron, which is, I think, actually highlighting some of the wounds post full moon fallout. So, you know, we've seen in the full moon that the moon came out of the opposition with the sun, and then it's come into conjunction with Neptune here yesterday on Saturday. So that moodiness, like I said, still kind of hangs around at least until the early hours on Sunday, when we see the moon go into Aries, and then things kind of pep up a little bit. So watch for some of that stuff on Sunday, aka today. I do this early, so I always have to remind myself. Then on the 12th, we're going to be seeing a Yod. And so you have to, Yods, I don't talk about them a lot. Like this one, it just happened to pop up and it caught my eye, and I was like, oh, there's something going on here. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Pull out my marker again. So we've got a 19-degree Yod between Saturn and Aquarius, retrograde, Moon in Aries, and the Sun in Virgo. Okay, so let me show you guys the Yod. So by now, you guys have heard me talk about oppositions, squares, sextiles, conjunctions, right? These are all aspects. These are how planets communicate with each other. Oftentimes, the moon will create a number of aspects. That's why there will be a 2 or 3 day period where there's like a mood, right? So here we have the moon in Aries, just left its conjunction with Chiron. So we're kind of picking up from something that was going on emotional, that was probably about wounds, or where we felt kind of left out, or we felt kind of hurt on a personal level. We've got Saturn at a 19, the moon at a 19, and the sun at a 19. Now some people might be like, yeah, it's not a big Yod, but hey, they're all the same degrees, right? So we've got a sextile between the moon and Saturn. We know that sextiles are harmonious energy, similar to that energy of Venus. So the moon is building off of Saturn. Okay, cool. So there's been some emotional coldness. We've had some restrictions. We've been reviewing our goals. We've been feeling the distance or separation in society or with our friends. Where does that lead to that moon in Aries going like, well, at least it's giving me the opportunity to do my own thing, right? Like maybe I'm really good without that person, or without that habit, or without that job. And like now I'm like free to do whatever it is I want to do. Moon, Jupiter, and Aries. So you got the sextile. So it's feeling good. We're really focused on our goals. So when we have a Yod, so when we have the sextile, that forms a focal point to another planet. Okay, so you see that? So it creates an inconjunct or a quincunx from Saturn. So it's kind of rubbed the wrong way. Sun quincunx Saturn is kind of like feeling like your energy is thwarted. It's trying to reconcile between all the details with the sun in Virgo and what they need to be doing on a more personal level, but it doesn't really resonate with the group. And then on the flip side, we see the inconjunct from the sun in Virgo to the moon in Aries, also quite uncomfortable, because there is this sense with that combo of, you know, the moon's really emotional and it's kind of all over the place and it wants to have freedom, but that makes us a little more accident prone with the sun in Virgo. It makes us overlook some of the details that we would typically look at if we had the moon in any other place. So it's a way of being able to make lemonade of two inconjuncts and with help of a sextile. So the focal point here is going to be the sun, okay? Because that is the focal point. That's the point. It's almost like they say it's a Yod, finger of God term. And what does this mean? That's a terrible Yod. Hold on a second. All right, there we go. We've got the focal point being the sun in Virgo, and I think that this is like the cosmos way. If you can find this, okay, this is going to be Monday morning around 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, so that's going to be around 1:30 Eastern. Check your time zones. I'm terrible at converting time zones. I apologize. And if you can catch this, look at where Virgo is in your chart. The sun is moving through there. It's going to bring some kind of energy, right? The sun, it's going to highlight something that's like, hey, clean this up, right? Fix this. Be mindful of this. Be more critical with this. Nurture this. Clean this. Take care of this, right? So it's really important that you guys are looking for that. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter where the moon is or where Saturn is, because we know that the moon is our emotions, Saturn is our commitment. So all you need to know is where Virgo is in your chart. You will emotionally feel, likely in the morning, this is my goal, so I got to do this, right? I got to make this sacrifice. Pay attention. You guys have to catch that. But it's fateful. And at a 19, this is kind of cool, the way that they're all going ding, ding, ding. They're all hitting a 19 degree. It's about relationships. You guys are sick of that word right now, right? Relationships. But it is about relationships, harmony, fairness, justice, diplomacy, balance, right? So there's going to be a sense of being like, hey, I don't like this, the way this feels. How do we fix this, right? So it's going to affect everybody differently. Look at where that is, obviously in your chart, and know that there will be some fateful events happening. And later in the day, we're going to see the moon go through Aries, and as it gets up to like 22, 23, 24 degrees, it'll be later in the evening, we are going to see the moon come into a square with Pluto, which is us feeling threatened emotionally, because of changes, or where existing, power structures or power dynamics are threatened because people step up and go, enough. No, I don't stand for this. This doesn't work for me. And this is now the moon opening to the square to Pluto, since it's conjunction. So it's like people getting a little bit more feisty, a little bit more testy, fighting back. One of the best things you can do when the moon is in Aries is just have some time to yourself. Get active. Do something that's going to be able to blow off a little bit of that steam, so we're not seeing so much emotional reactions, okay? Let me take you guys now to Wednesday. This is Wednesday. Nothing too crazy happening this day. We've got the moon that's going to be entering into the sign of Taurus. Moon's happy there, stable, comfy, has its snacks. But we know that as the moon goes through Taurus this year, it gets a little banged up, right? Because eventually there will be conjunctions to Uranus. There will also be squares to Saturn. There will also be oppositions to the node. So what's traditionally a more harmonious kind of transit, not always. So you guys want to watch for that. But as the moon enters Taurus in the early degrees, it's fine. And I actually really like the fact that this is going to be, kind of going on clear into the PM. The moon comes into a trine with Venus. Okay, cool. So the moon and the moon's nodes are getting close. So we're getting in touch with our emotions. We're embodying them. We're feeling them more. We're paying attention to how we feel. Do we feel safe? Do we feel secure, right? Do we feel comfortable? Are we experiencing pleasure? And then the moon makes a trine to Venus. Now, Venus in Virgo, okay, but still, the North Node is ruled by Venus, and we've got the moon moving through a Venus sign. So it's kind of like Venus in Virgo, like, here, I love you, I packed you a lunch, I filled up your gas tank, I folded your laundry, right? I mowed the lawn. Like, these are more practical things. And this is things that you can be doing physically or financially to be showing love and appreciation. It can be as simple as like a back rub, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be like money and like giving things. It could be like going and trimming all of the garden and removing all of the weeds, right? With that opposition to Venus, because the moon really wants to create more harmony. And the willingness to work on things and fix things and get things done if Venus is not pleased. So I'm actually, I'm not mad at it. That's why I think that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, these are the easier days. Even in spite of some of the, the oppositions and the retrograde, we're going to get more done. There's going to be more harmony these days, because then it's going to get a little chaotic. Okay, so then I want to take you guys to Wednesday, which will be the 14th. And this is what I want you guys to watch for. I'm like reading my notes in big bold letters. Watch when the moon goes into Taurus. Like I said, it brings up fixed T-squares, right? So it's almost like a, I hate to say this, but I'm not going to use the term car accident. I've used that several times. The T-square, something gets hit. It's like a when you're playing, gosh, what is the word that I'm looking for? When you're playing the pinball machines, right? And it goes ding ding, and things like light up, and you hit something, and then it bounces off of each other. That's what this kind of reminds me of. So moon comes into conjunction with the North Node. This is going to be the early-ish morning. It's going to be morning here in the West Coast, early afternoon in the East Coast. Moon conjunct the North Node is like, are we experiencing love, or are we experiencing pleasure? Still feeding off this trine over here to Venus. So we're still thinking about how can we combine love and service? How can we combine cleanliness and purity? How can we combine relationships and service, servitude, anything that's going to be about making something pure and doing things in a physical way, okay? That can be like, I love you, I cleaned the house, whatever. But the problem is that then the moon comes into conjunction with Uranus. Now, we see this once every 28 days. It's nothing new. But I think it's going to create a little bit of like some emotional startling, right? So we want to watch for changes, Uranus, in money, pleasure, values, and comfort. And when we feel that discomfort, here comes Venus and the Sun to save the day, because they will be receiving trines from the moon where they're like, oh, you don't like that color? Let me run back to Home Depot. I'll find the right swatch. type of thing, right? Oh, you don't really like the way that this is put together? Well, let me take it apart. Let me try it again. Or, you know, let me add a spice to it. Like there's going to be support on the line. So that's positive. However, I think that it's really the square for Saturn for me, which is going to happen later in the afternoon, going into the evening, that the moon conjunct Uranus we can deal with, especially if it funnels into those planets in Virgo. But when it makes a square to Saturn, it's going to be like, well, other people don't like the fact that I'm very particular about what I want. Or, you know, I'm being right on about something and other people don't agree, they don't like it. Like there can be a sense of us getting kind of hitting a wall a little bit emotionally in terms of relating to other people. And I look at this and I go, it's Virgo season. You got to do what you got to do to get better, right? To heal something. Even if that means you got to tell friends, I'm not drinking. I'm not going out this weekend. Sorry. Or, hey, I can't go shopping. I'm saving money. Like these are things that we see when there's conversations between Virgo and Taurus and a square to Saturn. So we're getting back down to basics, getting grounded, getting healthy, making the sacrifices does not resonate well with the collective. And we may also hear things about changes in food, changes in healthcare, changes in hospitals, or whatever, people who are in the service industry, and new implementations that are being kind of put out there in terms of society that affect these types of things. So how does it affect you? Know that while you're in the process of making probably better decisions for yourself, it's going to rub some people the wrong way. It can be hard to communicate and express and get that point across on this day. So the 14th is like the first of some of the bang up days that can be a little bit more difficult. However, like I said, that moon trine Venus is nice. That moon coming into a trine with the sun is also nice. It's just very practical and grounded. So it's not going to feel like it has all the pizzazz of a fire trine. It's going to be very much like, okay, you need this, here it is, you know? And like I said, you might ruffle a few feathers in the process. All right, so let's go on to the 15th. And on the 15th, we are going to see, this is probably what I would consider the bang up day. Friday's probably going to be the most challenging day, I think, all week. That's just the vibe that I'm getting. Let me show you why. Friday and Saturday, but you're really gonna see this both days. Okay, so on Friday, the moon, it's gonna be late in the evening actually, going into the 16th. I take that back. Hold on a second. Let me take this back to the 15th. Okay, so on the 15th, we're gonna see Venus in Virgo square Mars. That's what I wanted to talk about. All right. So we've got Venus here, and we know that Venus is not very comfortable in a mercurial sign because it can be hypercritical, picky, for good reason, because it wants something perfect. It wants something that's the best. And we've got a mutable square. So we've got Venus that's squaring Mars. On one hand, Venus square Mars is like a little bit of friction that can create chemistry. Like it can be great for like makeups and then breakups. Or vice versa. It can also bring a little bit of tension that can kind of turn up the heat in the bedroom, and it can give just like a little push that we need to be able to kind of break through something. Animosity, challenges, right? Venus and Mars are lovers, and when they're in disharmony in a square, it's almost like what Mars wants to do doesn't really resonate with what Venus wants to do. And this is really important that you guys understand this, because on the 16th, when the sun comes in conjunction with Mars, there's going to be something that's going to be triggered that's like, I need this now. You know, we need to do this and we're doing this now. And it's not going to please Venus, which is important because Venus is the ruler of the North Node. So what I'm getting at is that the friction in relationships really, I think, is going to be starting on the 15th, on Thursday. It's interesting also because Venus rules the North Node, so it's about peace, love, harmony. Mars rules the South Node, which is about cutting, severing, pain, desire. And Mars being in Gemini, like, it's some harsh words, man. Like, there can be some things that can be said that can kind of cut like a knife. So I'm seeing that as Venus comes into the square with Mars, Mars is kind of like yappy and like saying things, or it's just, it can feel a little scattered. And Venus is like, what are you doing? Like, clean this up, get organized. Like, she can be nitpicky, basically. So you've got the Lord of the North Node and the South Node in friction. So it's like the past and the future are having a tug of war with each other. And we want to get angry, we want to fight, and we want to, you know, talk shit about the past. And Venus in Virgo really wants to possibly, I'm not going to say keep the peace, but like doesn't want any problems, because she knows that as soon as she starts saying something that is going to kind of upset Mars, Mars is going to kind of shoot back and forth. So maybe you guys are feeling this. Maybe recently this week you've been feeling some of the disharmony, and that's because there's been a lot of constructive criticism. And this is also pressure between masculine and feminine energy. So this is like quite literally battle of the sexes, right? When we see these squares, watch your words. They can cut. People can be very sensitive about some of the criticisms that are being given. I also say that because we have Mercury that's in opposition to Jupiter. However, I guess the positive is that right before the moon goes into Gemini, in the early morning hours, we are going to see that the moon in Taurus will trine Pluto. So it might be like late in the evening on the 14th, going into early morning on the 15th, but the moon trine Pluto is like a release, a transformation. It's cathartic, like it's finally starting to kind of break wide open. And it's nice because it creates a nice little Earth trine. So it's like right when we get stable, okay, I got solid, I have a plan. And then it's like hell kind of breaks loose Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because then it's like, well, this is what I committed to, this is what I decided, is what has to change. And then, you know, people kind of ricochet off of each other as a result of this change, all right? Okay, so Friday, now we can get to Friday. Friday is going to bring, and this will be the 16th. Let's get it earlier in the morning here. There we go. Morning going into the afternoon, but just know it's in the air because the conjunction will happen later in the day. So this is the day that I want you guys to watch for, okay? The 16th. We've got Moon conjunct Mars. Unless you're playing something and doing something competitively, unless you're debating, unless you race cars, I don't know, I'm trying to think of positive things from this, like, you know, it's a day where collectively the moon, we see a lot of people that are in a rush, they're aggravated, they're arguing, they're agitated, right? And P.S., by the way, remember, Mars is in shadow. So Mars hasn't even gone retrograde. I have to tell you, literally the day that it entered shadow, I was like, this is going to be a long fucking 7 months, because I can tell that wherever that agitation is kind of coming from, it's coming from because of conversations that need to be had to kind of rewire and rework what direction we're going in, right? So maybe you guys are feeling that. If you haven't, oh boy, watch for the 16th as the moon comes into conjunction with Mars, because it's going to amplify the fact that we need to make decisions. You know, we need to make choices, and Gemini is not very good at making choices. It's good at saying, well, I have this or I have that, right? I can go this way or that way, or I like both colors or both people or both options, or, you know, whatever, I change my mind. What's going to happen here is when this conjunction happens, which is typically not so bad, especially because it's making some slight loose trines to Mercury retrograde in Libra, some slight trines to Saturn in Aquarius. Keep in mind, both of those are retrograde though, okay? Those air trines are like communicating, expressing, and getting those ideas out. The problem is that this is gonna make people grumpy. Prime time for accidents, prime time for gossip and all kinds of stuff spreading on the internet or on apps. And this conjunction is going to square Venus. So what's going to happen here is whatever was kind of bubbling over on the 15th, somebody's probably going to say something or do something or react or get aggravated, and it's going to disrupt the peace, square to Venus. This same day, I would say watch for jumping to conclusions, like whatever you read on the internet, whatever, like that could be some conclusion you jump to. This same day, we also have the sun in Virgo coming into an opposition with Neptune in Pisces. So it's like fog machine everywhere. You can't see anything. You know, like Universal Studios, and you're like walking around during the Halloween time and you're like, okay, where is the guy that I know is going to jump out? He's here somewhere. It's like that, right? So it's low visibility. We're not seeing things clearly. We can go on one hand with having more empathy, being more sensitive and sentimental, and the willingness to kind of overlook some rough edges and make the sacrifices and help people. But the flip side is like the scam, like the wool that's pulled over your eyes, the intentionally, you know, not wanting to get involved in something, or isolating and stepping aside and being avoidant, right? So there can be conversations coming up with people going, I told you I didn't like this didn't feel good. Then they get aggravated, and then somebody goes, I'm not picking up your call, or I'm not talking to you anymore, or you should know, and then they like walk away. So there's some passive aggressiveness kind of going on with some of this. Also, we're going to see that, I guess, the silver lining in this, because there is always a silver lining, is that Venus is in a trine to the North Node, which is ruled by Venus. It's almost like, even if everything kind of gets a little chaotic this day, and there's some relationship issues, there's some health issues, there's some scheduling problems, like whatever, Venus trine the North Node, ruled by her sign, is like, look, we need to stabilize this. Like, we need to get grounded here. Like, I need to know like where we stand. So if there's been any miscommunication, if there's been any confusion, like, let's hash this out now. So that way we're not, you know, we're not losing something or someone. I think also, just now that Mercury's starting to really get into that opposition to Jupiter, it's highlighting again, if you guys saw my Mercury retrograde video, this sense of like where we're learning a lot about ourselves through other people. Like, relationships during this Mercury retrograde in Libra are like mirrors. And I'm seeing a lot of clients doing it. I've seen it in my life. It's like one person acts a certain way, and then the other person kind of like responds to that. So there can be a lot of, you know, like that Spider-Man meme where they're both like pointing at each other, being like, it's you, or no, it's you. It's like that. And projecting. We're projecting onto other people. So there's a need, I think, this day to watch out for the scams, watch out for being bamboozled. We don't want to allow anybody to get away with things that they should not be getting away with. There can be some tall tales of people being like, but this, and this happened to me. Like, you can't fire me. And they show up 3 hours late, you know, and it's like a pattern. There can be a sense of people making excuses for their behavior. And then there's also going to be other people that are going to be very highly critical. And I think the key is to use that ability with Venus in Virgo to give constructive criticism and be like, look, I really care about you, or I really love you, or I love this, or I love this job, but X, Y, and Z has to change. So let's get clear if we haven't been clear before. As if communication issues weren't enough of an issue during a Mercury retrograde. The point is like, when it comes to getting health results, traveling, having meetings, meeting with coworkers, like diagnosing health problems, fixing cars, like, it's all going to be a hot ass mess. Not the day to do it, okay? Also, don't be talking on your phone and driving. That could be something else that's kind of going on. We want to also be watching for like gossip, because gossip can be spreading very quickly with some of these squares. Okay, then we're going to move to Saturday, the 17th. Kind of blends into this day a little bit, just a little. Here we go. And on Saturday, we're going to see a slight trine from the moon in Gemini to Saturn in Aquarius. So here's the moon breaking away from that conjunction to Mars, okay? So have you guys noticed a theme here, right? A lot of the trines, at least in this period, are from the moon when it was in Taurus to Virgo, which is like, what do I value? What are we willing to do to maintain those values, right? If you really love something, if you really value something, you'll do the work. But then when we see the moon go into Gemini, we see a ton of aspects where the only really positive way out for that moon in Gemini is going to be the trine to Saturn. It's like, what was my goal? What did we agree to? Where are my friends? Like, who are my people who I can rely on when things are getting difficult? So you have to communicate, right? Work with that element. Air wants you to talk, wants you to move around, wants you to shake it out. Earth wants you to ground your energy out, get practical, get stable. This is also a hot ass day. Holy mutable squares. Because yes, the way out of this is the trine to Saturn. I'll lead with the positive. However, I'm looking at moon coming out of a square with Mars. So likely there was some agitation, aggravation, arguments, accidents, and then the moon moves into a square with Neptune. Moon square Neptune is like, I don't know how I feel. I don't know if I should even say anything. I'm emotionally recovering. I need my space. And then we've got the moon in Gemini that is in a square to the sun. P.S. The sun is still in an opposition to Neptune. Surprise. So the 17th is still like mutable squares, unfortunately. Whenever we see like the sun square the moon, things just don't go according to plan. So it's like if you're trying to have a party or a fancy dinner or like all kinds of things, just know that like things may not go according to plan with this square, because things are changing. Now I see this as like parties getting rained on, right? There being traffic and delays and people couldn't get places, or, you know, phones drop calls and there's issues with service, like things like that, because this is like very social, and it's Gemini is social. It's squaring Virgo, which is about health and accidents and delays, and squaring Neptune, which is about perception. So whatever was going on, likely the 16th is like there could be fear and paranoia with like going about and like doing things, or people are still in their feelings as a result of like the fallout that was happening on the 16th. Watch for things not going as planned. The 17th, yet another day that is not ideal. Then we've got on the 18th, here we go. So on the 18th, more of like a neutral day for me. You know, moon is in Cancer, so it's in its home sign. We are going to see that there is going to be a square between the moon and Mercury retrograde in Libra. So these are cardinal squares, which is like, this is how I feel, you know, I need security, I need to be home, and people being like, can we just talk about it? Like, can we work this out? Like, can you come over? You know, can we still go to the party? And somebody's gonna be like, no, I don't want to leave, you know, I need my safe space. And then the moon's also going to be in a square to Jupiter. All right, lots of T-squares, guys. There's going to be things happening, and a lot of people are going to be like, it's Mercury retrograde. Yeah, sure, maybe. I think it's just the lunar transits this week that's just really forcing people to take a good hard look at themselves and their behavior, and where there's friction because people are unwilling to change, or they're unwilling to kind of open up or evolve. The moon square Jupiter is not bad. Sensitive, you know, lots of feelings. The moon square Mercury, difficult in expressing those feelings. And the Mercury opposition to Jupiter, second time, by the way. This is the second time. So if you look at my Mercury retrograde video, I have all those dates. And it's at a 4. So actually, earlier in the day, we'll see a 4, 4, and the moon will be at a 4. So it's bringing up the theme of the past, the feelings of the past. Are we stuck in the past, retrograde? Are we rehashing the past? How do we feel in our home? How do we feel in our homeland? What's going on with like houses and property? And, you know, Mercury can be about movement. I think in the midst of this Mercury retrograde, where we're seeing some relationship breakdown, we're also seeing people being like, okay, you got to move out of the house, or we got to sell the house, or, you know, for this relationship to work, you need to move to me, right? Or you need to be emotionally available. And vulnerable and open, and be willing to kind of rehash the past, or not allow the past to affect the future, right? The future. But yeah, this to me seems a bit uncomfortable. Look for those reoccurring patterns from Mercury retrograde in opposition to Jupiter. Now it's in a different degree, but still it's like, once again, I think it's getting feedback from people. It's like, if you're not aware of your behavior, trust and believe somebody's going to tell you how you're behaving and how you're acting, or how you're coming across. Now, the positive is that we can get really great feedback from people that's like, hey, I like it when you do this, not when you do that. Or I need this in a relationship. I'd like less of that. Or, hey, in order to make this more sellable or more relatable, you know, why don't you tweak this, or why don't you tweak that? Like, we need other people. And I've noticed this has been particularly hard for people who don't want to have relationships. Like, I've noticed like an influx of clients that are like, I've been married, I don't want to do it again. You know, it's easier for me to be alone. I don't want to be in relationships. And relationships aren't for everyone. But what I'm getting at is that if you're unwilling to work with another person, a therapist, an astrologer, a mentor, you know, a business partner, a sibling, whatever. Relationships are not limited just to romantic, right? we lack that ability to be able to get self-awareness. Like, we don't have a sounding board, right? Like, we need that sounding board. So for those of you guys who are like, no, I'm not doing it, it's too much work, I would rather be alone, like, that's where you're limiting your own personal growth. Like, something about this Mercury retrograde I think is interesting. I'm not going to say it's good or bad. Like I said, it's all relative. It offers us the opportunity through conflict and through challenge to level up and make changes and realize that some of us are unhappy because we're in the wrong relationships. Some of us are unhappy because we're people pleasing and because we're saying yes to things we should be saying yes to, or we've gotten into a habit in relationships of doing things to appease other people, but then we become resentful and we're not actually really happy and we're in a mood. And other people might say to you, like, well, if you're not happy, just quit your job. Or if you're not happy, then leave your marriage. And obviously it's not that easy, but people may say things like this throughout these transits, which can really get some of us in our feelings. But I think that this is the dismantling phase, right? For really like the better part of the next almost 2 weeks until we get to that new moon in Libra, we are clearing out, we're decluttering, we're preparing, we're getting ready for the new moon in Libra. And we're also going to have a Cazimi at 0 degrees of Libra, which means we're getting ready to completely wipe the slate clean, rework the agreements and the contractual understandings of relationships. Some relationships will level up, they'll become stronger because of this. Other relationships that are more superficial, or if it's people who are selfish or people who aren't willing to do the work, they're just going to throw up their hands and go like, fuck it, you know, it's too much work for me. And yes, that can be really upsetting for some people, but I think that that's actually making things very easy for us to go, okay, if you're willing to just walk away from this, fine. Because we have to be focusing on self-preservation. That is the Mercury retrograde in opposition to Jupiter. That is also going to be a lot of the squares that you are going to be seeing when the moon goes through, you know, various placements in Cancer. It'll be next week, but then we'll see the moon come into an opposition with Pluto and the moon gets kind of threatened. So we're clearing things out in this phase now until we get to that new moon in Libra. We will also be seeing soon, it's kind of starting up, but I'll bring it up now. Venus is also coming into a trine with Uranus. We're going to see that perfecting more like, you know, next Sunday, Monday. So I'll probably do a video on that. But Venus in a trine to Uranus is like, okay, well, this is the change, you know, and I don't like the change. I don't like having to get up and go to the gym, or I don't like being alone, but what do I do now that I have that time, right? So we're definitely going to see some changes in relationships, changes in jobs, changes in vocation, changes in where we're working. We're going to change doctors, right? We're going to have some kind of shift in regards to our habits and our daily routine, because we know that we need to make those changes in order to feel more stable and better in our bodies. Our nervous system needs that. So it's dietary changes, schedule changes. But also I think it's going to be about flushing out all this relationship stuff so we're not carrying it around. If we are still carrying around any kind of hurt feelings or resentment, or we didn't get closure, or things that we don't want to talk about, we're learning that it actually creates more chaos and I think more drama when we don't talk about things, when we just kind of carry it around. You guys will see more of that when Mars comes into a square with Neptune. So just watch your words this week. That would be my advice for everyone. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. If you are new to my channel, I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up. Let me know, how do you feel with this energy? Where are you tuning in from? Big thank you to all of my subscribers and also my members. You guys are awesome. All the likes and the comments and the interaction really helps the channel grow. So if you would like to join me during any of my live readings, I'd be happy to see you. You can also donate or join memberships if you like my content. We're putting out about 4 videos a week. We want to create more. We've got webinars and things coming also this fall. So if you guys haven't already seen that, it's not too late to sign up and save $25. I'm going to be doing a 2-part webinar that is on the astrology of you and me. It's all about synastry and also composite charts, talking about how to read relationship astrology like a pro. I'm offering $25 off, so it's $75 investment if you guys want to sign up before the 18th. It's going to be in the morning Pacific time on 2 separate Sundays. Okay. Also, if you guys want to learn my techniques for beginners astrology or tarot, you can find that on my website for sale as well. If you want more of my content, you want something that's like a little bit more comedy, a little bit more lighthearted, You can watch my Midheaven podcast that I have with myself and my friend Mike, the Peace Dealer. We've got a new video that comes out every Monday touching on current events and just big astrological transits. And I will be doing live tarot this week. So if you join me on Saturday night, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing donation-based tarot reading. Come and join, hang out if you want to watch, if you want to ask a question. And if you'd like to book a reading with me, check out my links below. Check out my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. I'd love to see you. I've got limited booking between now and the end of this year because I'm teaching, so I'm going to be doing webinars and getting ready for some other courses. But hopefully if you guys would like to speak with me, you can get on my books. Otherwise, enjoy your week, and I will see all of you guys very soon. Take care.